Painting with Menoth John is presented in Super Legitivision. Super Legitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
Menoth John.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. Start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice.
You know, you can paint with just about anything, but if you're Menoth John, you can't podcast worth a shit with anything. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the guy that could be handed a Cray supercomputer and would manage to fuck it up with one of those. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Sunday night technologically challenged extravaganza. I'm the old guy behind the mic. I'm Menoth John. You know, back in my day when we had those stone tablets, we didn't have problems with reverberation. We sure didn't. No echo off of papyrus, I'll mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, Palomino. Ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in at 6:30, you got twice as much show as you're going to get for the next 90 minutes. I promise you that. And the reason it would have been twice as much is because we were echoing the whole time. Dear God,
showed up.
Dear God, have mercy. Please, chat room, confirm that none of us are echoing. Wasn't Test for Echo a Pink Floyd album? I think.
I think they said it was Rush.
Oh, Rush. That's right. God, don't want to. All of a sudden, I feel terrible now.
Yeah, Pink Floyd and Rush, not exactly similar.
Not even close. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
with us as usual, you can hear him. He's the dulcet tones. He's the wind beneath my wings. He is my co-host. The co-host with the mo-host, Mr. John Spencer.
Hello.
Glad you're here. Also with us, of course, we have, you know, we save the really big fuck-ups when we have a high-profile guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have from Clockwork Phoenix Games and part-time of the Privateer Presses, we have Mr. David D.C. Carl.
Hello?
Hey, welcome back to the show. You know, the last time that good. Thank God you see face cam. Because everybody wants to see this. This may cost us half our viewers. So we're at we got 19 people already watching the show. So, yay. You tuned in for the right part. We're actually working. You know, thanks for coming on the show tonight, DC. We have it's been quite a long time since we've had you on the show, and we felt like, you know what? Let's catch back up. Let's get together and talk about what's happened since the last time we were together, and you know, drink some beverages together over the internets.
Sounds good.
I should probably refill this. No, I'm not going to refill that. But what I am going to do is we're going to have our beverage update, and I am going to start off by having two women from Nuglaris Brewing Company, and I am going to open it up using a Painting with Menoth John Crony Inner Circle bottle opener. What?
Oh, shit.
Yep, that's right. They have made landfall, and well, look at this. It's doing a very efficient job of opening this bottle. There he goes. Bottle cap is off. Never mind that no, this one isn't a twist off. There you go. So that was going to be a funny line. But nothing pops open two women like a Crony Inner Circle bottle opener. Let me tell you what. So what are you having tonight, DC?
I just went with rum and Pepsi over here. Got my 2006 Gen Con Bloody Buccaneer Brew mug.
That is quite the tankard you have there, sir.
It does the job.
I'll tell you what, I muscled up to a similar-sized strawberry margarita on the last show, and I'm not sure I remember much of it.
I remember you kind of had some difference, a different style towards the end than the beginning.
I listened to the end of that show when I was editing it, and I went, "Wow, I was sloshed. Belinda was upstairs when I got done with that show, and she goes, "Do you remember us talking about stuff in the newspaper?" And I was like, "Nope, no damn idea."
Oh my.
What could I do? I mean,
Keeps things interesting.
JD Whitey showed up on the show. What was I supposed to do?
That's true. That's true.
But John, what are you having this evening?
I've got a Dr. Pepper and Fireball whiskey mix in a simple glass, but I do have the Admiral Akbar glass koozie on it.
That is very nice. That is an excellent glass koozie. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of DC and John, to everybody out there, all the brushheads, hey, Ron.
Ron.
Oh, man. So we did manage to talk a little bit about what the show was going to be about tonight during the wonderful pre-ramble we had. Mostly we said introduction and beverage update, and that's pretty much where the old agenda got to. So the rest of
They may not have heard all of that because our audio was kind of hit or miss.
Who knew? I mean, it literally anyone or no one could have heard that. So
Hey, at one point I unveiled I was going to have a new part of the media section, but no one heard. So, I mean, it's still a secret.
you got to wait for the last 15 minutes if you want to find out about that secret. And let me tell you, I heard the secret. I don't remember it, but I'm pretty sure it was right. It was cool. You're going to want to stick around for it. So,
Oh, that's legit.
so this is the time of the show that we talk a little bit about some of our the cabinet. DC, I'm not sure. I'm sure you're aware, actually, because you are a crony. I am the president of Warmachine and Hordes. And
I've heard.
Yep. And
I also I heard a lot about your recent errata.
I did a great job on that, didn't I?
I'm not going to complain.
I think I did fabulous on that. I think that I pushed through a lot of stuff that's been bothering me for a long time, and we worked in great partnership on that. I mean, not everybody knows that. There was a lot of behind the scenes things that went on there. And the next one's going to be even better. That's what I want to put out there right now. I'm working on it. I've sent back a couple of revisions already. Did you get that memo?
I did.
Excellent.
I'm going to fast track it.
I expect compliance. That's what we look for here. It's quite the benevolent dictatorship of Menoth, John. Unless you play Legion or Crix, in which case you better just hold on to your bootstraps, folks. So there you go. Also, that's Signar. Although I'm not sure how many more. No, we're not going to go there. Anyway, moving right along. It was a great errata. Expect more. I'm working right now with Tinkerhouse on the new version of War Room. I've set forth a lot of demands on that one, and so I'm expecting it to run and to. I think one of the things that they're having the most amount of technical difficulty with is that War Room will now stream live Painting with Menoth, John, with or without Wi-Fi. We're going to tap into the emergency broadcasting service, and we're going to push notifications to War Room. So there's some hurdles. They're working with White Moon Dreams on it, so you can expect it to be to be really the top notch. And so we've got that going on, and I want to thank. We've got a member of the cabinet has sent forth finally the department that they want to run, and that's Robert Dorefsky. You may know him as Flight Medic, and he is an amazing dude. And he wrote the following. John, it is time. Members of the cabinet get to go on the first name basis. Did you know that, John?
I had no idea.
It's not just it's not just President for Life, Menoth John, sir. Once you're a crony, it's just John. So, John, it's time for my ascension to the position I was born to in your cabinet. I would like to also point out that he misspelled ascension, which makes him a complete and total perfect person for the benevolent dictatorship of President Menoth John. I submit to you my application, nay, my announcement to the position of Minister of Propaganda. We needed one of those, John.
Absolutely.
Surprised you didn't have them already.
Well, we've kept the Minister of Propaganda quiet, which is ironic to say the least. So things I can say with a straight face, also misspelled, include but are not limited to There is no GW in Racine, which, is actually truth, because there is no Games Workshop store in Racine. There's barely a Chinese restaurant in Racine, to be honest with you. Menoth John was not drunk when he tipped that cow. His blood sugar was just low. I like that, John. I really do. I need high-quality excuse making. Now, if he can come up with an excuse for last week's show, we got a winner on our hands, folks.
Sunspots. I'm going with sunspots.
Swamp gas coming over the weather balloon. The errata
you were just very upset about the demise of Drop Zone. That's what it was.
I'm still despondent. I've had to call in a lot of grief counselors. A lot of them. The errata is being worked on and will be released when it's finished. That's truth. That's straight up truth. I mean, we already talked about that.
Yeah.
War Room is fully functional. That's very true. That's very true. It is absolutely fully functional right now. Honest to God. Okay. All kidding aside. War Room on an iPad is pretty top-notch stuff. It works really well.
I've only used it for a handful of games. It has worked perfectly in all those games.
Yep. All my iPad games with it have been just spectacular. It's fast.
That being said, I always use cards because I'm me.
That's a personal choice. That's a personal choice. It's like, do you put hot sauce in your mac and cheese? That's a personal choice.
Because that's just weird.
Oh, no, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. Try it sometimes. No, I'm not shitting you. That's how I always eat it. I always put
what kind of hot sauce?
I have put Tabasco in it, and I've put that Topico, whatever. I've also had the sriracha in it as well.
Okay, I have sriracha. It's the only one I have in my apartment.
Yeah. So. Don't go crazy, go nuts. You don't want it to turn into Fireball the Clown. You want it to be just a subtle. All of a sudden, it's turned into cooking with Menoth John. I don't understand. Troll Bloods are not overpowered. True. In fact, they're barely playable, and they should get. I'm working on some errata to upgrade for a double dose of my pimpin'. I can't help but say that every time.
Looking forward to that.
I have absolutely seen Idiocracy far too many times. So he signs up by saying, "I look forward to carrying on your positions to the masses." Just leave that there. To persuading them to your cause and keep them happy and playing their war machines. So, on behalf of President for Life, Menoth John, and the rest of the crew here, hey, Ron. And then the only other thing I have left as far as news and announcements and crap like that is we have some new members of the I Need to Open Another One level, the one that gets you the fancy Tactical Gray Crony Inner Circle bottle opener. It's Tactical Gray because I said so. And it is, of course, we mentioned Tracy Carter, David Cameron, Barry Ravebomb Holmes, Byron Lyles, Miles Healy, Eric Defoe, and Ryan Goes, all members of the I Need to Open Another One level. If you had already been pledging at the $5 level, you will also get one. And above. If you're at the Chilly Winters level, remember the Chilly Winters will also get one as well. So there you go. That's all we've got for that kind of business. And then the only thing I would is put up the Senior Pro Tour event coming to Warmachine Weekend coming here in a couple weeks. And each of those folks will get a bottle opener that is much like the Crony Inner Circle, although it is less Tactical Gray and more grumpy Matlock Warjack. So I'm working on the rules for that one for the next book, by the way. The next Warmachine book may have Matlock in it. It may.
I'm in. Anytime you give me a mercenary warjack, especially a character, I'm 100% in.
That's right, especially when it's a slightly gently used protectorate one. So there you go.
I don't care. I will consider any mercenary warjack.
Last on the thing here that we need to do in the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes is how we keep the lights on here at Painting with Menoth John. We need to mention Discount Games Incorporated. Best place on the internet to buy stuff, unless it's your local game store. Get your local game store. Support those guys. Turns out having a table and lights are important to play, and helps kind of get the old social experience up there and doing their thing. But if you can't, or your local game store is a bunch of asshats, we recommend Discount Games Incorporated. Jay is not an asshat. and will help you with selling you miniatures. Greenleaf Terrain, if you need some Canadian terrain, it's all in metric. He has metric hills, he has metric linear obstacles, metric buildings. So there you go. So they'll sell them. They'll send them to you in boxes measured in metric units. Then we have Games and Gears. Games and Gears, purveyor of all kinds of fun gaming aids, brushes, towels, the stands. They'll sell you. They'll sell you the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge. Well, that's not their motto, but it could be. And then we have KR Multicase, home of the Butter foam. Yeah, where you can get their foam is so soft it's like butter, and that's why they named their bag the Kaiser. It's because it's on a roll. So you want the butter in the roll.
Oh Jesus!
That was really bad.
How much have you been drinking?
I've had all day. I have had this much of this beer, and they'd only fill it up to here. I'm telling you, I'm just a little bit. I'm living the dream. Life is good. Life is good. I've got to show people watch it.
Yep.
Who understands?
What more do you want?
Who understands? Some people say that Hillary Clinton won the last debate, and I have a show. There you go. So there you go. All right. But that's not why everybody tuned in tonight. Everybody tuned in to basically to get the lowdown on what's up with our guy, Mr. David Carl, purveyor of the Clockwork Phoenixes. How are things going over there at Clockwork Phoenix?
Well, I've definitely been busy lately. Just got back from one convention. It's called ZapCon. That was down in California. Had a good weekend there. They had a little bit of gaming going on, but they also had comic book stuff, cosplay stuff, some media guests. An interesting show. Definitely different from the one I'm heading to next, and that is Warmachine Weekend. I got my Warmachine Weekend 2007 shirt on today.
Because you're all OG.
One of my favorites. My Warmachine Weekend 2006 t-shirt is actually my favorite. I don't know if anybody remembers those. They had the damage grids on it.
Nice.
And it's great for marking damage grids on your wife or girlfriend. When she takes damage to column 6 or column 1, that's the best. So hoping to get another great Warmachine Weekend t-shirt to add to the collection, but also hoping to get to play in some events. This is the first year since 2007 that I will be eligible to actually play in stuff as a player.
Oh, wow.
I am now part-time at Privateer Press. Still doing work for them, still working on Warmachine and Hordes stuff. So active in that community and in that game still, but also, since I'm part-time, able to do things on my own, including attend conventions as just me, hang out, play some games, be in some of the special events they've got going on. I'm a big fan of the Who's the Boss format, so I'll probably play in that if I can get a spot. There's also a lot of other crazy things in terms of the events going on. Might play some pickup games or maybe a scramble or something too, but mostly going to stick to kind of the funky events, since those are more casual and I can enjoy that aspect of things a lot more now. Well, now that I'm able to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, we are not, if nothing else, we are hardcore casual here at Painting with Benoth, John, and we highly support your choice of gaming that way. So you're looking at the Who's the Boss. You're not of the 40-year-old age yet.
Not quite yet. Couple more years, and okay. I'll be joining you for the Senior Pro Tour. Senior Pro Tour is where it's at, baby. I'm going to tell you that right now. Is. But we're going to have a good time. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you're going to actually be able to play some games. I know that back before you joined Privateer Press, you were a pretty well-respected player. I certainly played a lot. Played in all the Warmachine weekends up until I joined the company. Won one or two of them. Won events at most of the others, at least some event or another. Won some events at Gen Con, at Origins, at various other conventions in the Missouri area, but also just around traveling to different shows and stuff. Very competitive player for a while.
and also the leader of a playtest group, frequent no quarter contributor, creator of certain OP formats at the time, and that was how I eventually wound up at Privateer full time.
Well, that's really fantastic. I mean, that's very accomplished. I mean, considering, between John and I mean, I get all weepy if I come in second in a spell draft. I mean, that's so that's wonderful. So now, which army, DC, are you going to bring with you to Warmachine Weekend to play in these events?
That's a tough one. I'm a little torn. I was talking about that with Jess just yesterday. I probably will bring some Convergence stuff just because that's my baby. It's really incredible to be able to take something that you enjoyed in the setting of Warmachine and get to play a key role in turning it into an actual faction. So they've got a special place in my heart. But I also might go old school, bust out the Crix or the Protectorate. I don't know. If people have recommendations, what they like to see or not like to see, feel free to post it in the chat, and I'll take it into account.
I think most people would most want to see you playing something that made you happy. I think whatever it is that is going to make you the happiest, because, like you said, it's been an awfully long time since you've been able to participate in a con, and particularly this con, in the manner that you're going to be able to. So I don't speak for everybody, but I know that whatever makes you happy is what you ought to be playing.
So that's the convention side of things. Finished up ZapCon, heading to Warmachine Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Also, always have various play testing and stuff going on, as well as working with various artists and stuff. Want to make sure that the look of the games that's not a part that I can really handle.
Mm-hmm.
Those who have seen my drawings know that I'm a badass with a crayon, but that's not quite what we're looking for top quality games that I want to put out. So working with a comic book artist for one game that's kind of a casual fun sort of game about superheroes, working with a digital artist with more kind of realistic and gritty heroes for a post-apocalyptic game. So that's kind of something new to me, but also something that so far is going really well. I consider myself fortunate to have found some good folks to work with in a lot of different ways here in the art side of things, but also have a good crew on my podcast. For those who might have heard it, it is Your Turn Next. We are on the Muse Network. We're also on the Your Turn Go site. We're kind of the sister podcast for Your Turn Go. Just recently, we brought Jordy Hicks, the incomparable Jordy Hicks, on board. He's joined the Your Turn Next team. So you guys might know him as a studio painter from Privateer Press, but he's also a gamer, a sculptor, does a lot of converting. So be sure to check out our recent episodes and hear him on. And if people have ideas, things that you want us to talk about on the show, feel free to contact me. It's just dc@clockworkphoenixgames.com. And also talking about that superhero game, if you have ideas for some cool, unique superpower, let me know. And we might be able to put it in the game. And also let me know your name as you'd like it to appear in credits. Anyone who wants to throw in some cool, fun superpowers, we're always looking for more for the We Need a Hero game that we're playtesting right now.
That sounds really, really cool. I mean, let's get that out there to Brushheads. Let's give DC a hand here. One of the cronies looking for some ideas. I have to tell you, I was listening to your show on driving around with my 9-year-old, and he absolutely loved the show as he was listening to it. So you got a big fan there. And then the other night we dressed up. Of course, I did the famous Bob Ross cosplay that I'm so well known for. And then of course he dressed up as Rocket Raccoon, and we played Zombies Keep Out, which is
cool. Gets
tons and tons of play around the compound here, uniquely known as the home of Menoth John. So that's great. So I will pose that question to those in my life, and we will definitely send some ideas, keeping in mind that the game needs to be family friendly, and the powers probably need to be family friendly as well.
And I've already edited out plenty. So if you know the group of folks that I game with, guys like Jordy, also other great folks, whether at Privateer Press or just friends in general, but guys like Michael Jenkins, Michael Archer, Reese Nash, bunch of folks in the area have had a chance to now try out We Need a Hero and have given me ideas for crazy, crazy powers, some of which we can't actually use for a family-friendly game.
You have to be like Exploding Kittens, where you release 2 versions of it. You've got the regular version, you got the not safe for work version.
Yeah, there is some of that, but I think that when it happens naturally, it's better than when it's forced. This is actually a topic that we hit on a bit in the episode that will come out in the next week, the first episode with Jordy, episode 9 of Your Turn Next. We talk about how kind of that irreverence can be a lot of fun, but it can happen naturally. It doesn't have to be like pushed into a game. It just kind of happens at the game table when you have like-minded folks whose like minds are kind of dirty minds.
Well, that's terrific. I completely agree with you. You know, one of the things that we've talked about when I've been playing Exploding Kittens with my family and stuff like that is that while when I was out in Buffalo when I was visiting the Beer Machine folks, was we played the not safe for work version, and there's a few cards that are in there that could have easily made it to the regular version of it, but didn't for one reason or another. And you know, okay, yes, the Rubber Dick Collection card is plenty funny the first and second time that you play it, but honestly, does it really add that much to the game? And the answer is probably no.
Are you and your family familiar at all with the game Telestrations?
As a matter of fact, I became familiar with that game as a direct result of your show and listening to your show.
And
I've never heard
so
of it.
If you've played it with your family, it's definitely had a different bent than when I play it with guys like Jordy and Jenkins and Archer. We don't need the Telestrations After Dark version for it to get a bit dark.
So just for those of you who don't know what Telestrations is, it is essentially it's Pictionary meets the telephone game. And so, I mean, DC, you can I've not played it myself, but I'm sure you could probably give it a little bit more detail. But essentially, yeah, things can probably get off the rails pretty quick.
So everyone looks at a card, and using a dry erase flipboard, they try to draw the thing that they read on the card. And then they pass it to the next person. The next person will look at that drawing and guess what they think it is. And they pass it to the next person who tries to draw that guess. And then you guess that draw that guess. And by the time you get to the end, you've turned your, let's say, a zipper into, well, you can guess where that might wind up going. But it gets really funny, especially with the right group of friends who, well, if you play with the guys I play with, you feel like an incompetent artist by the end, but you're also laughing a lot, which is important.
Well, that sounds good. I was fucking around with the damn rig again, trying to get my damn picture so that it wasn't like looking at my wonderfully got more chins than a Chinese phone book profile, and so now everyone can revel in the fact that I haven't shaved in 2 days. So it's super legit. John, we had a lot of questions for DC that came in the questions thread, and you being the wind beneath my wings, would you please help us here by telling us some of these questions for DC?
Sure thing. I'm going to tell them out of order that I got them here just to
I'll change them up a little bit.
Make it more interesting, yeah. I got a couple also questions that aren't for him at all necessarily. But one I don't think he can answer. We'll do that later.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing is Declan Lowry, who asked in multiple places, how did his name tag Kickstarter do? And I assume he means the wolf tags you did.
Yep.
And if you have any more in the pipe.
So the wolf tags Kickstarter, it funded. It did make a little bit of money. The wolf tags got out to all of the people who backed the project, and everything I heard back was positive. People liked them. People used them when playing Werewolf. I used a set of them down at ZapCon last week, and I ran a bunch of Werewolf games, and people had a lot of fun with it. One lady even came up to me the next day and was like, "This was the highlight of our ZapCon this year, playing Werewolf with you." And so it's still a game that I really enjoy, and I'm glad I did that project. But the main reason I did it was as a kind of learning experience for me. It was something that I knew would be fairly simple to do. and I could learn pieces of information I didn't quite have yet, learn more about how Kickstarter works, what it takes in terms of time and effort to create a campaign, how the interactions with Kickstarter work, how long different parts of the process take. And I was able to take that information and learn a lot from it, and hopefully be able to do a more successful game-related Kickstarter in the future. The Kickstarter project that I was planning to launch about this time actually was purchased by Ninja Division. Oh. So I'm not kickstarting it. It is going to be a game by Ninja Division sometime in the future. A few people out there may have play tested it or may know folks involved in the play testing of it. Major Tusk, Andy, worked with helping me make the playtest cards for it. He did the graphic design for all of the playtest cards. Other folks like Travis Marg and other folks in their community got involved in playtesting. Even did a little bit of playtesting at Gen Con.
Is this
and that game has now been picked up by Ninja Division. So we're talking about what the final product is really going to look like and how that'll get released. But that is not going to be something I'm going to kickstart anymore, since it is now going to be a published game.
So is this Stormlands, DC?
No, that one's not Stormlands. This is it was originally called Pocket Cycles.
Pocket Cycles.
And the final name is still under discussion.
Okay.
We're kind of shifting the art direction a bit.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I don't want you to give away anything you can't give away, nor would you give away anything you can't give away. But
once I know more, I'd love to give it all away in terms of letting people know what's out there and what to look for, hopefully get their support in picking up the game. There's still some details that we're ironing out.
Is there any idea that Ninja Division is going to kickstart? I mean, they're a company that kickstarts a lot of projects. Are they going to run a Kickstarter for it?
The current plan is not to do a Kickstart for that particular project. It's a fairly small. It's a card game. Fairly small product in terms of not like they usually gear their Kickstarters towards the big launches.
Sure.
If you've seen the new Super Dungeon Explorer Kickstarter, Super Dungeon Explorer Legends, like that's a big deal. Tons of miniatures, huge effort going behind this project. And if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. But they usually kind of gear their Kickstarters more for those big products, and then the smaller games, kind of the side projects that they have going on, they do a real push through more traditional means, like through distributors, through retailers, at conventions, rather than using Kickstarter for that.
Okay. So that's coming up. Now, Stormlands was something I've heard you talk about a little bit, and that I think had gotten to the point where it was going into playtest. How are things progressing on that particular project?
Yeah, so Stormlands is in playtest right now. We have gone through a few revisions. It's getting pretty close in terms of getting towards that final rule set, final rule book. We are still tweaking the game balance on some things. It's important, in my opinion, when you do a co-op game, to have the game balance be both tight and scalable. Everyone's played co-op games. Well, if you play a lot of co-op games, you've probably played ones that are either too easy or that are too hard, or that don't have easy dials to turn to make the game easier or harder depending on your audience.
Sure.
So that's kind of my focus right now, is really getting that ironed out and nailed down so that you can play it with your kids on kind of some of the easier difficulties, or you can play it with hardcore gamers and really have a tough time defeating that most difficult game level. Really feel like you've accomplished something if and when you do.
That's really interesting. So you're looking at Stormlands as being a game that is going to be able to scale to younger players as well as to more mature gamers as well.
So you've played Zombies Keep Out, as you noted earlier tonight.
Yep.
And I think that one has kind of a pretty good scaling.
Agreed.
In terms of you can play it on the easier levels or the more difficult levels, depending on how many barricades you use. This is going to be a bit more advanced in terms of having actual different villain game boards to play against.
Okay.
So each different villain game board will have a different difficulty and different move cards associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you'll be able to scale it up or scale it down as needed, and it'll give you that different play experience. So I'm going to use what I've already learned about co-op experiences and difficulty and balance and apply that to this new game.
Well, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited to see how things come out with that. I mean, the concept of Stormlands is something that when I first heard you speak about it, certainly intrigued me. It sounds like it's set in a really neat genre and all that, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking to see how that moves forward.
Yeah, it's also getting to the point where I'm getting close to being able to show off some of the artwork.
Okay.
And the artwork is coming out great. I'm really happy with it. We've got several of the heroes already done, one of the villains now in progress. So going to be able to share more of that in the coming months.
Fantastic.
Hopefully get people on board with this cool post-apocalyptic twist that we've got going on for this co-op game.
Excellent. John, what else you got from the questions?
Well, next one is from Sherwin Matthews, and he's actually he has the same question about Kickstarters, but he also asked if you have any plans to make the next your future project more available in Europe.
That's a fair question. That is one of the things that is on my I need to learn how to do this list. Mm-hmm. Learning a lot about the various aspects of the industry that weren't really my forte at Privateer. At Privateer, I was the development manager for years, and now I'm there part-time as just a game developer. So that piece of the business is where my expertise lies, in play testing, in game development, in balance. And now I'm learning more about other pieces of the business. I'm gradually learning more about some of the production stuff, about Kickstarter, about fulfillment, and about shipping as well. So yeah, when I do when I do a game on Kickstarter, I will be sure to make that available to other countries as well. Part of the problem with, just in general, just as kind of a general note, is when things have a low price point on Kickstarter, it's a lot harder to do foreign fulfillment, because the U.S. shipping options are kind of limited and also can be very expensive.
Yes, very expensive.
It can cost more to ship it, like a lot more to ship it, than it costs just to make it. And that can become a barrier to being able to produce something. Whereas something like a big box board game, like you see these board games on Kickstarters that are $60, $80, something like that, the shipping cost is then a lower percentage of the final MSRP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big starting price for shipping overseas. It doesn't go up too much by weight until you get to a certain level that most games don't even get to.
Yeah, and there's other options too. Like if you get a high enough amount of sales, you can do kind of regionalized fulfillment. Mm-hmm. I know some people have used like the various Amazon whatever country code thing, and other things like that, where you can do more localized fulfillment than just trying to ship it out individually to each person.
You know, DC, one of the things, what's interesting is that the gentleman that asked this question, Sherwin, is one of he works for KR Multicase, and he also he is also very involved in Guild Ball. And Guild Ball, as you know from Steamforged, is a game that has started in the UK and is starting to find its way to the US. He may have some insights for you because of his involvement in the European game market that might prove valuable. And, you know, Brushheads, we work together. We're aligned and cohesive.
Yeah, things work out better if your starting point is Canada is actually a bit better than we are in terms of how their mail system works, and also Europe. If your starting point is not here and not in certain other countries where the cost to ship things is really expensive, it works out a lot better. So I also might be looking into that as an option, having a European partner for fulfillment.
Excellent. John?
All right. Well, let's keep on the Clockwork Phoenix bandwagon there, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And Dane Lech asks, what's the biggest joy discovered in starting up Clockwork Phoenix?
The biggest joy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly hitting the point where a game clicks. whether it's at Clockwork Phoenix Games or whether it's been in my past at Privateer Press or other times that I've done freelance work and development work for other companies, that click moment for me is always just so much fun and so amazing, where it's like, this idea has gelled. It's now all fits together, and I can move from the point of it's kind of this amorphous thing into boom, I know what I need to do next. I know where to go. I know how to make this not just a cool idea in my head, but an awesome game that people will enjoy for years to come. That eureka moment, I think, is my greatest joy. And so for Clockwork Phoenix specifically, I think it was when we did the playtest. There's a local game store called Mox Boarding House, and I go there sometimes to meet with a game development group. There's more and more of these various game development groups in different parts of the country, and I'm fortunate to have several of them in the area where I can work with a variety of people that have made all sorts of games that you play, but they happen to live here, and we get together and we had some play testing through it early on, and it's like, okay, there's a neat idea, but this part isn't quite clicking. This part isn't quite clicking. And then it hit. It's like, okay, this is how we change this mechanic to make it all fit together and make it flow. And in this case, it was the, wow, I should know this word because it's a key part of the game. I'm just drawing a blank. I apologize. Scavenge. The scavenge mechanic, where you're able to get new cards and incorporate them into your character, and how that worked really kind of evolved the gameplay in general and made the game a lot more fun.
Cool. Now Mox's, that's in Ballard, right? Ballard, Washington?
It's in Bellevue.
Oh, it's in Bellevue. Okay.
There's also a Cafe Mox, I think it's called, that might be in Ballard. The one that's in Bellevue is Mox Boarding House.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound like a game store in my opinion, but it is.
Yeah, I've not been to Mox's boarding house. I've been to Mox's Cafe, which is attached to Card Kingdom in Ballard.
Yes.
So, worst parking of any game store I have ever been to.
Yeah, their parking is kind of rough.
That's Seattle, though. I mean, Seattle is hard. I mean, finding a good place to park in that town. Turns out real estate's fairly pricey there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Bellevue store, the parking's not nearly as bad, especially if you're willing to walk a block or so. You can find some good spots, and it's a huge store. Tons of room for gaming, no matter what kind of gaming it may be. They have a lot of events and stuff going on there. And they also have just about anything you could want gaming-wise. They've got lots of area for their retail space, lots of area for gaming, and have a little cafe as well.
Cool. Speaking of Bellevue, not to interrupt the flow of the show, but that's what I do. I'm the host. I'm gonna just put it out here right now. I will be attending Lock and Load this year, and along with the Beer Machine guys. So we are going to we've formed that alliance. We're part of a we're going to take over the whole thing. And as president of Warmachine and Hordes, I figured I should probably show up at the Lock and Loads. So we're all going to be there, and it's going to be super amazing and totally legit. So moving on to the next real. Go ahead, Jet. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's interesting you bring that up because Mox Boarding House is where they ran the pre-Lock and Load tournament last year.
Yeah.
They had folks from all over the place play in that tournament. They had that big gauntlet that you might have seen on Facebook or on forums or something, like a physical metal gauntlet that was for the winner. Jake and Zosha were there. Omnis, Charles Aerosmith, I think, might have been helping run it, or he played in it. I'm not real sure. But guys came down from Canada for it. Like, it was an actual big tournament, kind of the pre-Lock and Load tournament for 2015.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, anytime that JVM shows up with his caster attachment, that's gonna be a good time. I am so sorry, John. I did that to you mid-drink. I am so sorry.
No, I got it. I'm good.
She extends range by 2 inches.
I'm not touching that.
She's like a squire. She is. Anyway.
Squire might be taller.
Yeah, She's barely taller than a squire. Anyway,
let's move on rapidly.
I don't know where that came from, but anyway, save me, John. Next question for DC.
Now I don't have to feel bad if I mispronounced her name a little bit.
No, you hit it perfect, man. You hit it perfect.
Okay.
Next is another one from Dane. It says, what's the biggest challenge faced so far by starting up Clockwork Phoenix?
Wow. So I'm gonna just come out and say it because I like to be honest anytime I can, and I'm free to be honest on this show, with or without the rum. I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and the biggest challenge has been overcoming those weaknesses. I'm not the most outgoing guy in the world. I do like hanging out with people. There's certainly folks that I love to be around, but I'm not that great at like self-promotion and really just like putting myself out there. So the marketing side of things is not really my forte. I've also had a lot to learn when it comes to various aspects of production as well as marketing. So the challenges are really kind of growing from a game developer into someone capable of making and putting games out there to the world.
That being said, the fact that you can put words to those things and that you've identified those things that maybe you feel are opportunities to improve on means that you can put a plan against it and you can fix it, or you can improve upon it, or you can find people to fill in those gaps and really let that, that's when you can release those things that you're not good at and focus on the towering strengths that you have.
Well, and that's the key, is finding the right people to talk to and to learn from. I know we mentioned it in the pre-ramble, but I feel like I learned a lot from you on the podcast editing side of things. You gave me a bunch of notes, and I then implemented those notes, practiced them, and I think now Your Turn Next is a pretty well-edited show in terms of getting rid of the noise, getting rid of the dead air, making it something easier and more fun for people to listen to. And that's just one example. You always want to go to the people who know. And I'm fortunate enough to have some great contacts and some folks who have been willing to help me out along the way. And so when I don't know, when I hit those challenges, I hopefully at least know who to ask.
Yeah. And, and that's something that's always worked great for us here on this show, too. We've been very, very lucky to meet people like Dowdark, who's helped us with some of our graphics stuff. And El Marshall did our overlay here that we use on the show all the time. And Centervale. God damn it. Mm-hmm. Centervale, sorry. Did the graphic that we use that kind of really bumped up the professional look of our show a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I tell you that the audio and stuff like that was not my innovation. I learned that from a show called Geek Nights, which was run out of New York by a couple of guys that taught me that you don't have to spend a lot of time to sound good. But if you sound good, people will listen to you. And I'll tell you, between them and then kind of picking up on what shows like the D6 generation do really, really well, which is they talk about a number of topics and provide a variety show almost with a predictable format that people can expect. They're going to get, like we have the 15 minutes of shenanigans. Then we've got a half an hour or more with a guest. And then we've got, we keep it all kind of
half an hour of questions. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. We keep it all flowing to a certain amount so that we stay on target and people know what the hell they're going to get. So we like to think of ourselves as the Big Mac without all the fat.
And then it keeps going, right? From what I learned from you guys, I've then been able to pass that information along to other people who are like, how do you make a podcast sound good? Or other pieces of the puzzle. Like I've learned a lot from Josh Salter, who you guys might know as Salty Dog.
That guy's so good.
You probably see him at Warmachine Weekend. He's amazing. Mm-hmm. He's taught me a lot about some of the other aspects on the technical side for getting a podcast out there and promoting it and stuff, how to get tools that give you information on how many downloads were there and where did they come from and stuff like that.
Yeah, I need to sit down with Josh for more time because I really, really respect what he's done for this particular hobby and
and he is such a good guy and so technically sound. And God, the pipes. When he reads Lovecraft, it's just absolutely amazing. And so
you listen to some of his voiceover work?
Oh God, yeah. He's like I said, I'm a wee bit of a Salty Dog fanboy, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And
same here.
And he's got such a quiet demeanor to him, but the professionalism that he brings to the party is just super, super legit. And so I look forward to maybe spending a little bit of time, maybe over a malt beverage with that gentleman when I'm at Warmachine Weekend to try and pick his brain a little bit about maybe how to next level the Sunday night extravaganza. That's for certain.
Yeah.
All right. So the last one from Dane is, what happens to a Clockwork Phoenix when its wind runs out? Does it self-rewind?
Well, maybe. I don't think I'm going to run out of wind, though. I've always got half a dozen. It's not true. I've always got about 50 or so ideas in the hopper that are in some degree of thought or arguably completion. One of the ideas I'm going to pursue next is to potentially work again with Chris Walton.
Who
yay! You guys know from his time at Privateer Press doing concept artwork. And I'm excited about that possibility. I'm going to contact him and see if he's interested in this crazy idea that I have, and we'll see where that goes. There's always so many irons in the fire that we're never going to run out of wind.
Awesome.
We might crash. We won't run out of wind.
Well, if you crash, it's okay. You'll just rise again from the ashes, because that's why it's a Phoenix.
Boom.
Yep.
Boom. I see what you did there.
So next one is from Chris Suri, who wants to know, what's your first miniature game?
For Clockwork.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Yeah.
Those who don't know Chris, that's D. Vader on the forums.
Terrible.
He's also a St. Louis guy.
Terrible painter.
One of my old nemesis in competitive events. We would often face each other at the finals table. He's also an amazing painter. I don't know if you guys have seen much of his work, but he's really grown as a painter over the years.
We have been
I have not.
We have been blessed to have him on the show, and basically he did a 90-minute, basically a tutorial and class that I think he's going to be recreating at Warmachine Weekend in the Hobby Lounge.
Yeah, I think he is doing some Hobby Lounge stuff. Yeah, I did hear that. So, oh crap. What is my first miniatures game? So here's the thing. Again, just shooting straight, because that's the way I prefer to do it.
Well, why we love you,
As
man.
long as I am working with Privateer Press on Warmachine and Hordes, I am not working on other tabletop miniatures.
That makes sense.
That's
working
what I
on
figured the
card
answer
games,
was going to be.
working on board games. I can work on role-playing games, party games, you name it. But in terms of hobby miniatures games, I have a non-compete with Privateer.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I mean,
so
it's pretty damn awesome that what you have for your non-compete allows you to work in the gaming industry, period.
Yeah. Well, that was we had a negotiation, and that's the agreement we came to.
Good move.
All right. Well, Legionnaires wants to know if you're interested in campaign games like Level 7 or the one Will Schick shared on The Insider for Clockwork Phoenix.
It's interesting that you said like Level 7. I assume he means Omega Protocol, the dungeon crawler Level 7 style game. I do like dungeon crawl games, especially those that have an AI for the overlord character, where it's not playing against a person, but just playing against the game. Mm-hmm. So I like stuff like Undercity, which just came out fairly recently, and that I hope you guys are playing and enjoying. And other games like that, things like Mice and Mystics, or any of these other co-op dungeon crawls. I'm a big fan of those. I'm not actually a part of Will Schick's campaign for Warmachine and Hordes that's going on right now, what with being a part-timer. But I do like things like that. I wrote the Warmachine and Hordes campaign in, I want to say, No Quarter 8. So I do have some familiarity with Warmachine and Hordes map campaigns and how they work. I've played in some, I've written some. I do like that style of gaming where it's an ongoing thing. It takes that element we love about role-playing games where you gain experience and power and you become cooler and have new capabilities and you're able to roll that over into the next time you play. And that's always a lot of fun. There's actually mini campaigns are something that I really enjoy. I've done 3 or 4 of them in past No Quarter articles over the years of various stripes. The most recent one was the Winter campaign. And I like stuff like that because whereas with a normal campaign, a lot of times you start it up and then people kind of run out of steam. With a mini campaign where you've got 3 or 4 discrete scenarios to play through, usually then you've got the wherewithal to go from scenario 1 through to scenario 3 or 4 and have that fulfillment, have reached the end point and be able to declare a winner. So I like the mini campaign system a lot as well.
Sure. You know, one of the things that I think that's missing actually, and there's been a lot of video work that's happening on the internet related to Warmachine and Hordes and other games and stuff like that. And what I think might be missing from our favorite game of playing, Warmachine and Hordes, is the narrative campaign video report. And that is something that I know that Mini Wargaming does really well for 40K. I have not played a single damn game of 40K in my entire life. And from what I'm told, I'm happy about that. But watching Mini Wargaming, one of the things that's really fun to watch about them is that I can watch a 40K narrative that they put on and just have a lot of fun watching it as a casual observer. Whereas every Warmachine thing that I watch is an SR-15 or an SR, whatever the year is that I happen to be watching it. Now Steamroller's badass. Don't get me wrong. The balance that goes into those is amazing. But I'm wondering if, and I'm looking at you, Dowdark, over there, as we those with better video skills than I'm okay at the streaming shit and putting stuff on audio, but I'll tell you what, me and Premiere Pro, we're not on speaking terms. If there might be a market there for Warmachine narrative campaigns, and DC, I'd like to get your perspective. What would something like that look like in today's sort of existence of all the different models and how they're balanced almost around SR these days? How do you think that? What would that look like?
I think there are people who are up to the task, up to the challenge, especially if they choose some sort of mini campaign where it's kind of got those three scenarios or 4 scenarios that make up the whole experience. Folks like Wargamer Girl, Miranda, I think she could do a great little mini campaign sort of thing for Warmachine and Hordes.
She's amazing at that
if she
kind of
chose
stuff.
to do so. The guys at, oh crap, Tony Crawford's going to kill me.
Advanced Maneuvers. That's why I was aiming at that. That's why I was aiming at Dowdark. Dowdark is with us every week from Advanced Maneuvers, and we are karmically aligned with that podcast.
Yeah, those guys could definitely do it. Speaking of which, Tony Crawford did ask me to pass along a message that you suck.
Oh, well, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Tony, you suck for not joining the Menoth John Network. So there you go. Right back at you, tough guy. Tony doesn't.
I noticed in the chat that I actually kind of missed answering the question a little bit because it said, "Am I interested in those types of games for Clockwork Phoenix?" And the answer to that is definitely yes. Okay. I love that style of experience where what you do in one game can impact the next game. And Michael Jenkins, who you guys mostly know as an amazing miniature sculptor, a digital sculptor at Privateer Press, had a lot of great ideas for how to make the Stormlands campaign system work better and how to make that kind of flow as an ongoing experience where your characters advance and get cooler and hopefully then can beat a more difficult villain character board than if you just played a one-off game. So kind of upping your gameplay and being able to have that campaign experience, and also so that it can reach more players. If you are into the more role-playing game side of things with that leveling up, that ongoing experience style, that it can fit into the Stormlands experience. Or if you want that one-off, play a quick game, do a co-op to the difficulty level that you choose to do so, you can do that as well. So I love games like that. I certainly want to make games like that, and Stormlands will be one, but not the only one.
So looking forward to some of the products that are coming down the pipe from your game shop there, buddy. I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to the Stormlands. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ninja Division is going to do with that card game, and I'm really excited to hear that it's going to be family friendly, because I really, since moving back to Racine, it's a 20-mile drive to get to Milwaukee, and the gaming group that I have in Kenosha, which is pretty close to me, is small, and it's really, really challenging. But I've got a family, and I basically had kids so that I have somebody to play games with, and they're now getting to that's a 9 to 12 year investment, and then I have to send them to college. Awesome, but and you can't kill them because they just send you to frickin' jail. If they don't play the right kind of games, you can't just kill them, because that doesn't work out. So it's great. They love family friendly games. Like I said, we've mentioned Zombies Keep Out, and the fact that my boy and I could play those in costume, super amazing. Getting in the spirit of the season, if you will.
Yeah.
John, what do you got?
All right. Well, these are more aimed personally at DC.
Okay.
Chris Fowler asks first, what's on your painting table?
Well, right now I am gearing up towards what should I paint for Warmachine weekend, which goes back to something we discussed a little bit earlier. I saw someone in the chat room saying that I should stick with Convergence, but also just thinking about who do I want to bring this year. I did bring Convergence to Warmachine weekend last year, but I wasn't able to play and stuff just for fun and just as me last year, so maybe that's the right way to go. Yeah. I'm also somewhat interested in painting up a bunch more Scorn, to put my Scorn out there. I haven't played them in a while, and I know there are some folks out there disappointed with Scorn in certain ways, but I feel like I could prove that Scorn still got what it takes, and might want to throw down with them, or like I mentioned, could go Crix, could go Protectorate. Got to make that decision soon, so I can paint a bunch of things and have them ready for the show.
So it turns out that if you decide that you want to go Protectorate or name a faction I have, and you want something that's fully painted, DC, you need only ask if you don't have it fully painted and you don't have time to get it done.
Well, I've got every single faction painted. It's just a question of if I want another unit of X or another War Beast Y, that I'd want to set that down and get it painted before the show.
Fair enough.
So
now, I'm not saying painted beautifully or anything. There's folks out there who paint really well, and then there's folks out there that just have a lot of painted armies. And I'm in that second category. I got them painted enough to pass muster, to have them on the table with some paint on them. And that way I can play whatever faction I want.
It has been... Go ahead, John.
We had a conversation about that last night with my buddy Noran, who was like, I'm getting out of miniature games because I don't like painting. He tried for a while, doesn't like painting. I'm like, what the hell? You don't need to have your stuff painted. Just bring your stuff.
Yeah.
The game's most important. You don't have to paint your models. If people hold it against you for not painting your models, you got to have a little talk with them, make them understand that they're being a little, I don't know, elitist, if you will.
Yeah.
The other part of it, too, though, is there's a lot of folks out there who their favorite part is painting the models. They don't really play
them, too, yeah.
They would much rather just put more paint on more models and would be happy with the opportunity to paint something as a change of pace. Whether it's trading them a few models of some kind or possibly some money changing hands, but you can find someone to take care of the parts you don't really like. For some folks, it's finding someone to paint for them. For other folks, it's finding someone to make army lists. They don't like coming up with crazy new lists, but they're happy to play them.
Well, they got the internet for that.
What's that?
They got the internet for that.
Exactly. But there are people out there who don't make their own lists. They just go on the internet. They just find stuff like Fire Mountain that's guaranteed to work.
You are my favorite guest of all time. You are such a shill. Awesome. I love you. Fire Mountain, awesome. Trademark, the best list nobody plays.
So on that note, Chris also wants to know what have you been playing lately? I guess that's more in general.
On the Warmachine and Hordes side of things, obviously nothing I can talk about. So gonna skip over that.
Not at work. Not at work. What are you playing? I mean, mostly. If you show up at Mock's boarding house for a casual game of Warmachine and Hordes, if that happens, even with as busy as you are, what is it you bring to the table?
Yeah, I don't play a whole lot of miniatures games outside of my house anymore, but I do play a lot of games for fun. For fun lately, I've been playing a bit of Crossmaster Arena. Talking about getting some kids into gaming. You got to try out some Crossmaster Arena, John, with your kids if you haven't already.
Back there on the shelf.
I've heard good things about that game. From Centervale, as a matter of fact.
Well, and because sometimes you don't want that like intense competitive experience. You want to just roll some dice and move some dudes, and that game's a lot of fun for that. Also, been really enjoying a variety of things that I've gotten off Kickstarter, but one of the ones I've had a lot of fun with is New Salem. It's a drafting game, kind of a little bit like a Seven Wonders or something, where one of the core mechanics of the game is drafting cards. But it's also got a little bit of a social element, kind of like Werewolf, where you're trying to figure out who are the witches and who are the villagers. And so that part I've had a lot of fun with. What else? A lot of great little games that I've gotten off Kickstarter. One that I just got in the mail today that I'm looking forward to trying is Entropy. I'm going to try that one out, see how we like it. But always something new going on. I'm constantly trying to learn more, see more, never want to just keep playing the same stuff week after week. And of course, playtesting. Been doing a lot of Stormlands playtesting, doing some We Need a Hero playtesting, thinking and starting to plan out some playtesting for what's coming next after that. Always lots going on.
Sweet. One last one before we get to what I would consider the most important question asked to you is Arky Dan, who wants to know, how's your con life and what shows are you planning to go to in 2016?
Ooh, well, he should know Warmachine Weekend because we're rooming together. So that's what's coming up next.
That's cool. Dan's a cool guy.
Dan's amazing.
Yeah, he and Kelly are going to be splitting a room with me, and we'll be enjoying that show. I know they're going to be mostly working a booth rather than playing the games, but hopefully we'll still have plenty of time for some fun, for some Werewolf, and it'll be good to see them again. Next year, definitely going to OrcaCon early on in the year. That is in Washington. So if you're in the area or just interested in a con in the early parts of the year, check it out, OrcaCon 2016. Don't have my full schedule yet, but I'm sure there are going to be plenty of other shows that I'll hit. Gen Con, Warmachine Weekend 2016, losing track of my years already, and plenty of other shows. And if you run a show and are interested in having me there as a guest to do panels or just want to let me know that you're having a show and I should go to it, feel free to contact me, dc@clockworkphoenixgames.com.
Sweet.
Super sweet.
So, the most important question, and related to the co-host video of the week on Facebook, have you seen the new Star Wars trailer, and what's your thoughts?
I haven't actually seen it. I saw the preview.
What?
I will not
see the new trailer yet.
DC, I have not watched it. I will not watch it.
What? You guys are killing me.
I won't watch it.
Me.
Will not watch it. Don't want
I'm out. What the hell?
All they do is spoil movies.
On you. I like some surprises. What can I say?
They spoil not a goddamn thing in this trailer.
Okay.
It is
all right.
very
Maybe I will
well crafted.
Okay, well then cool. Then I'll watch it.
It was. I would not have shared it if it had spoilers. Trust me. I try to avoid spoilers, but I was too excited.
Fair enough.
I'd heard it. My boss and some other guys were listening to it in the other room when I was at work. So I'm like, all right, I gotta fucking watch this thing now. Yeah. But yeah, no spoilers. Super sweet. God, I am so darn excited.
Well, hooray! That sounds awesome. And now I have to go watch it.
Yeah, I'll check it out too.
All right.
Now that I know that it's not going to give anything away, I'll give it a look.
Yeah, there's nothing away. This all you can do is pointless speculation. And there's lots of that on the internet. Trust me.
There is.
If I could backtrack for just a half a second, we talked about DC's con. There may be some people who are listening who are interested, John, in what we're doing this next year.
Yeah.
I am going to be going to my first con of the year is probably gonna be Lock and Load. I've really honestly dialed back my con going as time has gone on. I mean, there was a time when I'd hit maybe 4 or 5 cons a year, and that's, for those of you who don't know, I'm a full-time dad now. My youngest is with me all the time, and that is the greatest blessing I've received in years and years and years. But it's become very evident that going off to cons is probably not going to be happening. So Lock and Load, Warmachine Weekend happens every year. I don't care if I'm what it takes. I'm going to be there because it is simply the best party ever. And and then probably there's one more out there. I mean, I go to Adepticon because it's close.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's maybe a 40-minute drive from my house. But
not bad at all.
there's reason to believe a John Con is in the offing.
Oh, really?
Gonna put Racine on the frickin' map. And as the Patreon has continued to fill the coffers of the Painting with Menoth John experience, this may turn into a hotel con.
Oh, wow.
Originally, it was going to be in my basement, which then limits it somewhat to how big it can be. But turns out Racine is in between Milwaukee, Chicago, and is a stone's throw from Madison. These are good metas.
Yeah.
And Racine happens to be on I-94, which is a fairly good-sized thoroughfare. We don't have a con in the Midwest anymore. I think it needs a con. So we're going to see what we can do here. I'm going to need to reach out to some of my buddies. I happen to have an Infernal just up the street, and some really great PG support, and some really wonderful people in the area. So maybe we'll see if we can't get a little John Con action going on at the Racine Sheridan sometime next year. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and you got to branch it out. You've got contacts now with like all the Guild Ball stuff, various other folks you could talk to.
Yep. This is not a Warmachine and Hordes con, by the way. This is a general gaming con, if it happens. John Cons started in Logan, Utah, out of my house, and we would play role-playing games, and we'd have video games, and we'd have tabletop games. Warmachine was only an aspect of it. The best part of it, of course, was destroying the sofa at the end of it. And I'm not sure that we will have a sofa at every John Con, but it could be a tradition. I mean, hell, Goodwill is a thing. And, you could probably pick one up for like $15. So it's entirely possible that John Con will be a thing, and we'll make it a Racine tradition. Also, we do have Starbucks, and we have other things that are important for cons. We don't have a Steak and Shake, but we do have a newly opened Popeyes. So there you go. We'll try to, and there's a high school nearby for dating possibilities. Maybe I won't say that.
Wow.
That's a Revenge of the Nerds call out. It's a Revenge of the Nerds call out.
I know.
Anyway, so yeah, thinking about that for 2016.
I'm going to try and make it to Warmachine Weekend for 2016. We'll see. I know L. Marshall is planning on having some sort of small get-together in his basement that we might call MarshallCon, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I might try and make it to Nova since it is in my backyard, so to speak. But getting out of town's a little rough right now.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Now, what month is TempleCon next year? Because I know they moved it.
God knows. When is it?
July?
July?
I think it's July. It took the spot that used to be taken by Captain Con, then Captain Con took their old spot.
So here's the $64,000 question. Are the New England Privateers going to do for TempleCon what they did for TempleCon anymore now that they've got their own show in January?
I do not know.
I mean, I would have to suspect that a good chunk of why the New England Privateers did what they did is because they had gotten the catbird seat as far as the keynote speech and the whole 9 yards. It was so highly supported by. I mean, it was where it began. That keynote was amazing, and I'm thinking that is, well, I hope that they get the keynote speech, but I'm wondering if they're going to be willing to support TempleCon with that, or if TempleCon is going to kind of maybe go back to its roots of just being this retro-futuristic type of a thing.
It's actually apparently in August, the 25th to 28th.
Wow, that's late.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's in that good time of the year. I might actually be able to make.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough time.
Well, apparently let them expand their ability to host stuff.
But there's a ton of like schools up already, and people may have already spent a lot of money in August to go to Gen Con. Gen Con is not a cheap show to attend to.
No, God no.
Huh.
Well, and just in general, there's lots of shows in the summer.
Yeah, that's a toughie. I don't know how they're gonna like that. Nor do I know how they're gonna get their slot back with Captain Con now moving back into that spot.
Yeah, because they sort of took the slot that Captain Con sort of took, and then Captain Con sort of took their slot. So we'll know. We'll
see. Any other questions?
All right. Nothing else really DC related, and it's about time for the media section.
The media section, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have any rum in your shot glass, this is an excellent time to fix that. So I'm going to bring you up to the catbird seat here, John, as we are we're on the Spencer Cam, and now we're going to bring you to the forefront of the Spencer Cam, ladies and gentlemen. The media section brought to you by John Spencer.
So I started a new Friday night tradition, or restarted an old one, which is shitty movie night at Not Brushhead Dave's. Since we don't have the store to hang out anymore, we just hang out at his place, eat some pizza, and watch some shitty movies.
Outstanding.
And shitty movies isn't always shitty movies. It's whatever I bring over that I think he'll like, because Not Brushhead Dave has very particular tastes. Example, he actually doesn't like all of Hot Fuzz. He only likes the end of Hot Fuzz because he is not Brushhead Dave. So keep that in mind for everything.
Got it.
This week I brought a new Blu-ray I bought. Had some free Amazon bucks, so I bought Looper, which has been very highly touted. People said it's very good. In fact, Immortan Joe says he loves the movie. It was great. So we got that and watched that. And we were a little bit underwhelmed by the movie.
Really?
I'm not going to go so far as to say it was bad, because it was definitely not bad.
We know bad on this show.
Yes. It had some great thought-provoking moments. The action when it happens is decent. But Jesus, it's a little slow. I mean, in fact, it's a lot slow at points. And, I'm an action movie first. I can actually go with a slow build movie. And this is not horrible. A little horrible for Not Brushhead Dave, but man, it was not as good as I'd really hoped it was going to be. And it definitely didn't live up to the hype that it had been delivered to me with. Plus the makeup they use on, God, what's his name? My brain just stopped again. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The makeup they use on him is actually distracting if you know what he looks like. I feel like they could have just not done that, because honestly, he looks nothing like Bruce Willis no matter what you do to his face. Because Bruce Willis, 30 years in the past, I know what he looks like. That's called Die Hard. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's never going to look like that. So I felt like that was a mistake. The biggest mistake we thought, and I'm not gonna spoil the movie because there actually is some good watchability of this movie, is at the end, the whole thing's time travel based. They do something that would change the future, and they've had a narrator in through the whole thing, but the narrator doesn't comment on what happens when when the ending happens and the future changes. And I felt like that was a disservice to the fans. It sort of made it sort of pretentious, arty, like, oh, you get to decide what happens. I'm like, I don't want to decide what happens. You tell me what the fuck happens. I felt like that was a misstep. I really, really liked the ending of the movie until that point where it just ended, and I was like, that's unfortunate. So, first I'm going to give you Not Brushhead Dave's rating on the Kraken scale. His rating was meh, because Not Brushhead Dave doesn't do the Kraken scale because he's not Brushhead Dave. My rating is, I'm going to give it 2 shots of Kraken. They're just a little too much slow points. The main character isn't really likable till the end of the movie, honestly. And but I can't give it any higher because it does really make you think about a couple things. You know, if you will, time travel physics, even moral questions that are interesting to answer. So I'd check it out. I wouldn't buy it on Blu-ray necessarily. Maybe see if you can see it for free.
Time travel is always so rough.
Yeah, I do love the scene they did where they're like, we're not going to talk about this because at the end of it, we're going to end up making diagrams with straws and shit. So I'm like, that's fair. I like that they didn't throw it. They didn't try to explain with science and ruin the movie by explaining things poorly with science. If your science isn't rock solid, just don't even bother. Let's be honest.
Well, and science when it comes to time travel, it's not going to be solid. It's just a matter of how terrible is it going to be.
Yeah, it's all theory. If your temporal theory is not good, they had some good points of it. I like some of it, but I'm glad they didn't even try to explain how it works. They just let it roll. It seems like they stayed fairly consistent with their rules. Good enough.
That's the key. The consistency is the key, I think. There's a lot of time travel out there, and so much of it, I get to the end and I'm like, God, I hated that. I know it's blasphemy to some in our community, but I think I would be done with Doctor Who by now if Jenna Coleman wasn't so darn cute.
Yeah, I haven't watched Doctor Who in a couple seasons, honestly. I little behind. Free time's not what it used to be.
She's cute as a bug's ear. There's no two ways about that.
No. But yeah, time travel is just such a hard thing to do well. And I've usually in literature, more so than in movies, I've seen it done well once in a while. But in general, it's just such a rough topic to make you engage with. It's so hard to believe sometimes.
Yeah, when it's the premise of the movie, it's hard. You got to keep your shit tight, or it's going to be like, wait a minute. Or you just don't even, like Terminator 1 and 2, just don't even really address it. Send someone back in time, here's what we're expecting to happen, stop addressing it.
Yeah.
It's more of a means to get to the actual story, not the actual story. So that can be good.
I mean, like Back to the Future, totally legit.
Yeah.
Absolutely possible. Garbage turns into electrons at 88 miles an hour. Boom. Shakalaka.
1.21 gigawatts. That's all I got to say about that.
That's right. So my son, my youngest boy is dressing up as Doc Brown for Trick or Treat this year.
Epic. That is epic.
I got great kids.
Did you see them, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd on Jimmy Kimmel? It's on YouTube if you haven't.
Oh, on Jimmy Kimmel I have not seen. That probably is fairly amazing.
It's a good time. It might make it as my co-host video of the week next week if something else doesn't pique my interest in the meantime.
You should do that. That would be a good one to have on there. Sweet.
I missed it this week because Star Wars trailer. What did you think it was going to be?
So, I actually have a movie this week.
Oh, snap.
Yep,
what you got?
So I watched a movie called August Rush. Have you ever heard of the movie?
No.
So Belinda Librarian picked this movie out, and she picked it out because a friend of hers had recommended it, and I think that I initially was harder on the movie than I should have been. It's the story of a young boy who basically is very in touch with music, and he's like he can hear it around him. It's one of those people that can almost feels music in his environment and stuff like that. And the thing that I did not connect early enough in the movie is that it's a fairy tale.
Okay.
And basically it follows this kid who his parents he's conceived of a night of passion between two people who never have the opportunity to be with each other for even another day. And they're both excellent musicians. And the movie starts off with him in a boys' home, and it follows him as he makes this trek because he's thoroughly convinced he's going to meet his parents eventually. And there's absolutely no reason why he could ever possibly meet them. And it follows him through the mean streets of New York and trying to have a living and all this kind of stuff. And it was very emotionally taxing on a lot of levels. And it made Belinda very emotionally taxed. I was emotionally exhausted by the end of the movie. It is not what I usually watch, and I think that's why I was a little bit hard on it, at least initially. But I would recommend it. I really would. It is. It's probably a shot of Kraken, because you probably want to take the edge off, as there are points in the movie, and Robin Williams is in it, and he plays not a good guy. And he is, but he's good at that, actually. And he plays this character named Wizard, who is a bit of a Fagin character, if you're familiar with the character of Fagin from Oliver Twist. And he's got all these street urchin kids that are kind of working for him, who are all musicians. And and August, he kind of falls under his influence, and that's where his truly innate musical abilities kind of present themselves. And it's on Amazon Prime. It is not a Prime selection in that it's not free,
Gotcha.
But it is worth probably the $3 worth of a rent, and it may impress you as it being a little bit of it's more of a drama than maybe what we might normally talk about here on the show, but I enjoyed it. So August Rush, check it out. One Shot of Kraken. You'll need that to kind of dry the tears during certain parts of the show.
Fair enough. DC, have you seen anything recently?
We're really big TV people. Not quite as big on movies as some folks out there. I'm glad to see iZombie back for another season. So far, we've been enjoying Quantico. The movie that I've kind of been feeling like watching again, and I don't know if anyone out there has really heard of this one or not, or seen it or not, but is called Odd Thomas. And it's for whatever reason, I've just had it on the brain past couple of days and need to bring it up on Netflix again and give it a watch. It's kind of a supernatural story. It's got some interesting characters and very cool character interactions between them. Not like super surprising or unpredictable in what it does, but a fun ride, and something that hits you in the feels without kicking you in the balls like it sounds like August Rush would do.
Oh, it kicks you repeatedly. Well, great. So we got Odd Thomas out there. We've got the August Rush. And John, you've got your selection there that because of time and age, what the hell were you talking about again?
I was talking about Looper. I also did watch another one alone today.
On
Amazon Prime. It's called For Assassin. It's for free on Amazon Prime. Rather than trying to describe the movie, I will give you the Amazon Prime description of it. It's in this stylish, intense action thriller. 4 professional assassins reunite in a Hong Kong hotel room. However, the reason and the choice of location are a mystery. The deadly comrades reminisce about the past and ponder about the future, but unresolved issues hang in the air. That's really not even really a fair description of it, but it's a good primer to get into it. It was actually a decent watch. It's only about an hour and a half long, which is good. Doesn't overstay its welcome. The action scenes are kind of few and far between. It's much more of them, a much more action thrillery, if you will. But since it's all in one location, the thrills aren't even necessarily there. It was a decent time. Kept my attention. For free, awesome. I'd watch it for free. I give it about 2.5 shots of crack, and it was definitely a couple points where I'm like, get to the next scene. Plus, it's kind of a Hong Kong movie, so they tend to make those things a little extra angsty at the end, if you will.
Well, excellent, folks. I think we have reached the end of another Painting with Menoth John Sunday night extravaganza. I think, John, next week we're probably going to take a week off from guest again, and we'll probably dedicate it to a Warmachine weekend preview. We have we'll talk about the brackets. We might do a little bracketology on the Warmachine weekend because it's something to talk about. And I for those of you who are wondering, if you look at the brackets, they have the LCQ winner as facing Tom Guan in the first round. That will be me. So I'm planning on. So Tom Guan, I'm not scared of him. He's got the body and the soul, right? So he's
60 seconds.
So Tom, yeah, I can. I've lasted more. I've lasted more than 60 seconds many times. I've got 2 kids. Tom doesn't, and so there you go. And so I'm expecting to take him out in the first round. No problems, no questions asked. I will of course be sporting the Fire Mountain and the Madrak 2. And trolls, as we know, are unplayable garbage, so he won't even expect what's coming at him. So
you don't even care if he knows what you're playing. You're ready.
I am ready. I am. I've been in the dojo, and me and Rich Brotman, we talk all the time. So he can, that's like frickin' directly communing with God. So, Fire Mountain will, and Dowdark has it right. Fire Mountain would take out Tom Guan top of 2. So he wouldn't even know what the hell hit him. And so I'm calling you out, Tom Guan. So there you go. So we'll be back next week. This is your Sunday night extravaganza. We bring it realsies. Here's the music. There you go. For those of you who don't know, one last little thing here. The entire Bob Ross, they just added the whole first season to the YouTubes for freeze. So you can go to YouTube and watch first year Bob Ross. That guy's hair, let me tell you, and that beard.
It's legit.
That beard in season 1, man, it's got its own.
Next week we review Star Wars. Don't forget.
That's right.
Star Wars.
That's right. We're going with episode whatever it was that was on the 4. We start with 4, and then we go to 5, and then we come back to 2. And 3, and then end up in yes. So Brushheads, and I'll put it on the website because it's a thing. It's the internet's. It's all this fancy technology and shit. We're gonna watch it. Episode 4. This is one you like. Yes. This is a good one. This has no Hayden Christensen in it. No Jar Jar Binks. So you can watch this one. It's safe. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Menoth John. That's John Spencer. If I pointed to him properly, that's DC. Get over to patreon.com/MenothJohn. Support me. Support the show. Support it highly enough that you get a bottle opener. Because you might be thirsty. This will stop that. There you go. I'm Menoth John. Good night, everybody.